But at first, we were talking about one of the greatest title fights ever. I know I say that often, but there have been so many great title fights. We have to appreciate them when they come because they're not always there. Alexander Pereira in round 1 was pressuring Adesanya. Adesanya was following behind. He was following behind, but stole the round in the last few seconds. Stunning Alexander Pereira, hitting him at the horn, not after the horn. A lot of people are saying it's after the horn. I don't believe so. Rewatch the fight. Izzy was throwing that left hook. The horn sounded, and as the horn was sounding, Alexander Pereira got hit. It is very difficult to stop a punch once you throw it, okay? Was it illegal? I don't think so. I don't think he should have lost a point. That's why they tell fighters, protect yourself at all times. Protect yourself at all times. Fighters have to protect themselves at all times. Alexander Pereira could not stop the punch. He was stunned already from a right hand. I gave round 1 to Adesanya. I think we all did. Round 2 went to Alexander Pereira. Alexander Pereira even scores a takedown. Lots of nice kicking from Alexander Pereira. Lots of nice attacks. Lots of pressure. Failed takedown attempts from Adesanya. A lot of us were asking. A lot of us were wondering, is Adesanya going to shoot? Even me, I wasn't sure. I was like, you know what? It would be crazy if he didn't. Test the waters there. The guy doesn't have a background in wrestling that we know of. It might be a complete bald spot. We've seen him get taken down in the past in his first UFC fight, second UFC fight. Maybe that's an easy path to victory. And we're going to talk about Adesanya's takedowns. Adesanya does eventually score a takedown, controls the entire round in round 3, gets the back, unable to finish, but still showed superior grappling. He countered a takedown, got on top of Alexander Pereira. Alexander Pereira trying a judo trip, missing. Round 4, another Adesanya round. Everybody had Adesanya winning. Guys, I picked him to win. I said 51-49. A lot of some guys were laughing. You're only giving 1% chance? Yes, I'll tell you why. 1% more. I'll tell you why. Because Alexander Pereira can put anybody to sleep at any moment, even late in the round. Guys, it's so rare. A man who gets stunned in round 1 gets the KO in round 5. That is so rare. We need to stop a second and appreciate it. It looked like he was a goner in round 1. At the end of round 1, I wasn't sure what he's going to look like in round 2. And I was talking to you guys on the pre-fight analysis where I was mentioning to you guys that Alexander Pereira has a history of having a bad defense. And I thought that's why I gave it to Adesanya. Adesanya's defense is superior. And it was. Ultimately, it was. However, Alexander's offense won the day, not his defense. Okay, his defense was good. It wasn't great. Alexander Pereira, guys, if you watch his Glory fights, even if you watch his UFC fights, he gets his bell rung in UFC. He gets his bell rung in Glory. He does get hit. He's not one of those guys that's super hard to hit. The problem is that he's so durable. What surprised me, he seemed so much bigger than Israel Adesanya. I want to talk about that later. He was more durable. He was bigger. And he has incredible KO power. In round 5, early in round 5, still quite early in round 5, he gets Adesanya up against the fence. Adesanya tries to do his lean back defense. Doesn't work against the fence. He gets interrupted by the fence. He did his lean back defense several times successfully during the fight. He evaded left hooks with a pull. Okay, when you pull your head back like this, he even turned his cheek. And that punch, that left hook, that deadly left hook grazed him during the fight. He tried it in round 5. It didn't work. He got touched with the right hand and touched with the hook. And then ultimately, he was stopped. Guys, I think the stoppage was fair. I don't think it was obvious it had to be done. No, it wasn't there. It was fair. Some refs would have let it go longer. Some refs would have stopped it. I think it was fair. I have no complaints. And let me tell you why. Because Pereira could have ended, very possibly could have ended Adesanya's career if the referee did not intervene. Guys, if the referee did not intervene, a scissor knee was coming. Guys, the greatest scissor knee I've ever seen in all combat sports ever is Alexander Pereira. Actually, he threw a few in the fight, grazing the chin of Adesanya. Okay, not making contact, but getting quite close. In Brazil, they call this maneuver, they call it the pedalada, like you're pedaling. It's an incredible knee from a giant who's incredibly explosive. He throws it incredibly quick. I thought when Adesanya was dazed like that, I thought the knee was coming. If Mark Goddard did not step in, it could have been a serious concussion, broken jaw, broken orbital, fractured skull even, and it's rare, but it does happen. It could have been something that ruined or ended Adesanya's professional career. Okay, so I'm very grateful that Mark Goddard stopped it. Guys, Adesanya fought beautifully. He was brilliant. He was winning 3-1. He was losing round 1 and came back with an incredible right hand, left hook combination. You know, a lot of people were writing me, oh, coach, you think Adesanya has great power? He's only TKO'd 2 guys in his last, 6 fights or something like that. Yeah, because he's fighting monsters. He's fighting monsters for 5 rounds. He's pacing himself for 5 rounds. Guys, when you're pacing yourself for 5 rounds, you don't empty the tank. That's what I'm telling you. What Alexander Pereira did was very exceptional. Not only did he get a KO in the later rounds, he almost was stopped in round 1. Usually when you get punched like that, you get hurt like that, your legs give out. It's not easy to generate power. In round 3, round 4, I was thinking, Pereira's slowing down. When he sat down in the stool after round 4, his team told him, you got to finish. Now, I'll tell you something. In his corner, in Pereira's corner, we're getting translation. Guys, I've done fights where they translate for me. I talk in French sometimes in the corner. The translators are not accurate, okay? So don't rely on what the translator said. For those of you who speak Portuguese, I'm sure you might be questioning the translator. You know, you might have heard the Portuguese. I don't know if it came off on the mic very well, but you'll be like, hey, that's not what the guy said. That's not exactly what he said. I can't say that I know the level of the translator, because when they translated me, the guy was getting everything I'm saying wrong. And French-speaking fans out there, you can attest to that. You know that, so many people speak French. That's not what I said. The translator is just kind of like giving a gist, and he's getting it wrong. He's kind of saying generic things. Like, I don't know, maybe he's not hearing it properly, but that's absolutely not a reliable. Maybe it was just me. I got a bad translator a few times, but don't rely on the translation. However, I did hear them say, you have to finish. Okay. And it's good advice, because he did have to finish. Now, here's the thing. He's knocking out a guy with a granite chin. Adesanya has been hit by everybody, all the hard hitters, and he's done incredibly well. He's rarely ever gotten hurt. Like, I can't even, he got hurt with Gastelum. I remember Gastelum hurting him, but he's shown that he has a granite chin. Alexander Pereira also landed an incredible head kick. I can't remember what round it was. I think it was round 2 or 3. A beautiful head kick. Maybe even round 4. I don't remember. But I do remember a beautiful head kick landed. He was finding Adesanya. Adesanya's lean back style was good, but not great that night. And Alexander, he was able to capitalize against the fence. Adesanya tried to lean back against the fence. It doesn't work when you're on the fence. Adesanya had some incredible moments, especially lateral movements, some incredible 1-1-2s, so double jabs into a cross. He had some beautiful kicks, pendulum kicks. He had some incredible stuff going, but ultimately speaking, Alexander Pereira was too much for him. I don't think anybody out there is really complaining about the stoppage. The stoppage wouldn't have saved that. If Adesanya wasn't saved by the ref, I think he would have very badly got KO'd. And I'm grateful that it was stopped. How do you develop movement like Alex Pereira? That's from Green Bean 5. Well, look, I'll tell you something. He's got incredible reach, incredible athleticism. The man grew up in the jungle, don't forget. Then he went into the favela. He lived in the favela, the guy's biography is incredible. I was so happy to see him win. Don't get me wrong. I know I picked Adesanya, but I was so happy to see this man win. Think about this man's life. He was an alcoholic. He was a drug addict. He went into fighting, had a bad loss. First MMA fight, a loss. Got into kickboxing. Got a couple of beatings, guys. If you ever saw his fight with Jason Wilness, the first fight they fought 3 times, guys. Wilness gave him a beating, stopped him. If I remember correctly, he stopped him. Crippled, just kicked his legs out from underneath him. Then he went into boxing. I mean, the guy had a rough road. Not in UFC. In UFC had a stellar lightning, but to get to UFC, he had to overcome alcoholism, drugs, favela life. He had nothing. This guy had nothing. And now look where he is. He's the world champion of the UFC. He just beat, arguably, the greatest middleweight of all time. And I think he's going to have a rematch. He's going to make tons of money, hopefully plenty of money so he could retire, regardless of whatever happens after that. Hopefully he becomes a big name. He's an exciting fighter. Everybody wants to see an Alex Pereira fight, whether in Glory or in UFC. Don't forget, he's also 2-division champ in Glory. Guys, I think we could say he's the greatest striker on earth. Pound for pound, he is the greatest striker on earth. I don't think the greatest knockout artist on earth, but the greatest striker on earth. However, in my opinion, there are guys who could take him down and hold him down and maul him. There are guys out there. And he needs time. He needs time to develop to make sure that doesn't happen, that he's not dethroned too easily. And I think he has maybe 1 or 2 fights with Izzy. If Izzy wins the next one, it could be a blessing. It could be a blessing in disguise. He fights Izzy a 3rd time, beats him. That'll give him a good year to bring his wrestling up to par. Coach, was it the leg giving out that compromised Israel's defense? That's from Mubashar Abbas. Mubashar, good question. Izzy threw a low kick, it got blocked, and he stumbled. But watch the video. I looked at it really closely. He did kind of fell, did a back roll. He kicks Pereira with the leg again. I think his leg was fine. I think he just kind of like, sometimes when you kick somebody and you go shin to shin, sometimes when you get kicked or when you kicked, your foot kind of goes to sleep a little bit. Like you hit a nerve. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what the biological reason is why, but your foot kind of goes numb. It tingles. So when you put your foot back on the floor, you don't feel it. So you don't get that. Like you're like, where's my foot? You fall down. I've seen it several times. Okay, it's rare. It's a rare occurrence, but I've seen it. It's happened to my students in fight. I've seen it. Believe me, I've seen it. It happened famously when Nordin fought. I forget his name, the Brazilian guy. And the Brazilian guy was coming at him, and Nordin knocked him out. Nordin Taleb knocked him out. Famous knockout in UFC. And guys, it happens. He fell, but look, he recovered quickly. He threw the kick again. His foot was not broken. I don't think it was injured. He looked fine. I don't think that was what caused him to get knocked out. What caused him to get knocked out was the fact that he found himself up against the fence and he couldn't do his lean back defense. So yes, it contributed to bringing him to the fence, but I don't think his leg gave out from under him because of that, is what I'm trying to say. There were some more exchanges, and Izzy wasn't able to get off the fence. He tried to lean back, got clipped. It's very difficult to do a lean back when you're up against the fence. Now we know that Izzy has a particular kryptonite, and easier said than done, but that may be a good roadmap for future opponents to copy.